Lisa Gansky, you've done a lot of things in Silicon Valley, a lot of successful things. I assume you've had a couple of failures as well, which you probably don't want to talk about. You're a woman, and there's been a lot of debate, particularly on TechCrunch recently, about opportunities for women in technology in Silicon Valley. What's your position on this?
Well, there are certainly many, many opportunities for women. I think I have spent most of my career being, the only woman, or maybe, the 10% population in the room, whether that's a conference where, we're giving speeches and talks and engaging.
How does that feel?
Well,
are you always conscious of being a woman, an only woman, if
almost
there are none other
almost
men?
always. I'm almost always conscious, and truthfully, I've used it both ways. You can.
What do you mean both ways?
Mean that a lot of times the men, there's a boys club, and the boys club is, I think, driven by the fact that they have more connectivity. There's more of them to just surface area wise to connect with, but also I think that there's just there's a history there a lot of times. So, for example, the VCs may have more relationships with men or connect more easily with men. I'm not really sure, but my experience in the room was that I could tell right away, first of all, whether a male, whether they were a partner or an employee or a VC or whomever, was being kind of discounting my opinion, sort of in my mind, because I was a woman.
Do you think that happens? Does it happen, or had it happened, and does it happen a lot, that people just dismiss you because you're a woman?
Well, it doesn't happen to me anymore, and it happened, actually, I was very lucky in my career in so many ways, and that's one of them, that I think, I'm very chatty, and I've used my humor a lot with men to kind of create a conspicuousness of what the situation was, and I think that worked to my advantage. So I think if women are women and own that and are kind of feel comfortable in their own body and with the situation, and don't try to play the male game, in my experience, that's worked a lot better. So,
what advice would you give audience, a younger woman who is just starting out, perhaps leaving law school or business school, a startup entrepreneur? What advice would you give somebody who's still trying to make it in a male-dominated world?
I would say, first of all, be really comfortable in your own skin. And
what does that mean?
It means don't try to, don't try, if you feel that something is wrong, and like I would sit in meetings and feel that the meeting was going off and probably wasn't the best thing for me politically, but I would say that. Where I think that you have to be, from my perspective, this is just my opinion, but I think, the power and the comfort level and the respect comes from your willingness to put it out there. It's being an entrepreneur is a lot about willing to, and I'm learning that being an author actually is made me, I feel a lot more vulnerable than I did being an entrepreneur, which is surprising to me. But
it's interesting.
You have to stand behind your ideas. You have to be willing to kind of stand up. What I would recommend that women do is the same thing I'd recommend that anybody does, is find people who tell you that you're full of shit, when you are, and find people to tell you that, and to kind of give you the support, and most importantly, find somebody who buys your story early and is willing to kind of give you a chance, because everybody just needs that first chance, and then it's up to you.
And what advice would you give to men, and there are probably a lot out there who don't like reporting to women?
Oh, that's a whole other deal.
But you can be really honest. You have millions of men in the audience who are all uncomfortable probably working for a woman. What should they do?
Do you think that's really true?
I don't know if there are millions, but there's probably a
No,
handful.
I meant, do you think all men are uncomfortable working for a woman?
I'm not, but I'm unemployable, so I'm probably don't count.
Okay, well, yes.
How can men reform themselves?
That's a really good question. I wonder if it's generational, though. I mean, or maybe I've become more aware of it, because when I did GNN and men reported to me, I think I was just a bad boss all around, and I was probably not really sensitive to the male-female thing, or how uncomfortable men may have been reporting to me, truthfully. And there were some people on the team that came from old line publishing companies and big old photography, big brands and things like that, and I was pretty unconscious to it. I think as I've gotten older and been inside of AOL and Kodak and places like that, like I said it before, I kind of use it. I feel like men kind of go at men in a certain way, and with women it's different. I mean, I think that men kind of they won't say certain things to each other, or they'll be candid, but in a kind of, I don't know, it's a different approach. I don't know if it's biological, but there's probably something there where it's a little awkward for a man to take orders from a woman. But I think most clever women who have a lot of power don't give a lot of orders that look conspicuously like orders.